Hey everyone, and welcome to Easy English Talk. We're so glad you're here.
Thanks for joining us. Let's get started with today's topic.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of English Learning Podcast. I'm your host, Jason, and today we have a very exciting topic for all English learners.
Hello, everyone. I'm Julia, and I'm super happy to be here today if you've ever wanted to speak English naturally and confidently. Then this episode is just for you.
Exactly. Many learners feel stuck or nervous when speaking English. You know the words, but somehow your mind just doesn't let you speak freely.
Yes. And today, we're going to talk about how to train your mind so that speaking English becomes easier, natural, and even fun.
We'll share practical tips, real examples, and easy exercises that you can start using right now, even if you're a beginner.
By the end of this episode, you'll understand how your mind works when learning English, and you'll have simple strategies to make your English sound natural.
So grab your coffee, get comfortable, and let's dive into training your mind to speak English naturally.
Let's do this!
All right, Julia, before we dive into the steps, I want to talk about something very important to your mind.
Yes, many learners focus only on grammar or vocabulary, but the mind plays the biggest role in how naturally you speak English.
Exactly. Think about it, even if you know all the words. If your mind is full of doubts, fear, or overthinking, it's really hard to speak naturally.
Absolutely. I see this all the time. Learners get stuck because they're afraid of making mistakes or what others will think. That fear blocks the flow of English in their mind.
And it's not just fear. Sometimes we translate word by word from our native language, and that slows us down. Or we overthink grammar rules, and then we hesitate to speak.
Yes, that's why training your mind is just as important as learning new words or grammar. If your mind is relaxed and confident, your English will naturally flow.
It's like a muscle. The more you train your mind to think in English, the easier it gets to speak without stopping or translating.
And here's the good news: anyone can train their mind. You don't need to be perfect. You just need practice, patience, and the right strategies.
Exactly. In this episode, we'll share 5 simple steps to train your mind so that speaking English becomes natural, easy, and confident.
So, if you've ever felt nervous or stuck while speaking, this episode is going to change the way you think about learning English.
Let's start with the first step, thinking in English. All right, Julia, let's jump into step 1. Think in English. This is one of the most powerful things you can do to speak naturally.
Yes, many learners make the mistake of translating from their native language. They think a sentence in their own language and then try to convert it to English.
Exactly. And that slows you down and makes speaking feel unnatural. Your brain is basically doing double work.
So the first step is simple but very effective. Start training your mind to think in English directly.
For example, when you're having your morning coffee, instead of thinking, I need coffee, you can think I'm drinking coffee. It tastes good.
Yes, or when you're walking outside, you can narrate simple things. The sun is bright today. The birds are singing.
Even small, everyday thoughts are perfect practice. Your mind begins to speak English naturally before you even open your mouth.
Another tip is to use short inner dialogues. For instance, if you're planning your day, first I will study English, then I will call my friend.
Exactly. And don't worry about mistakes in your mind, it's just practice. The more you think in English, the easier it becomes to speak without hesitation.
Also, you can label objects around you in English. For example, your phone, table, or chair. Every time you see them, say the English word in your mind.
This simple habit strengthens your brain's connection to English words and phrases. It's like building a mental English map.
Yes, and the more you practice, the more natural it feels. Soon, speaking English becomes as easy as thinking in your native language.
So listeners, today's challenge: start thinking in English for at least 5 minutes every day. It can be about your morning, your plans, or even things you see around you.
It's small, but trust me, it makes a huge difference.
All right, that's step 1. Think in English. Next, we'll talk about step 2. Visualize conversations, which is another powerful way to train your mind.
All right, Jason, now that we've covered thinking in English, let's move to step 2. Visualize conversations.
Yes, this step is all about imagining real-life situations where you speak English. Even if you're alone, your mind can practice conversations.
Exactly. For example, imagine you're at a cafe. Think about the conversation. Hi, can I have a coffee, please? And imagine the barista responding.
Or imagine talking to a friend. How was your day? And then think of their possible reply. Your brain gets used to forming responses in English.
This is powerful because when you actually face a real conversation, your mind has already practiced it. You feel more confident and natural.
Another tip is to visualize different scenarios: ordering food, talking on the phone, meeting new people, or even small talk at work or school.
Yes, and don't worry about making mistakes in your imagination. The goal is to train your brain to think in English responses quickly.
And here's a secret: the more details you imagine, the more effective it is. Picture the place, the people, even their expressions. It makes your practice feel real.
I love that, and you can do this anywhere, anytime. While walking, before sleeping, or even during your morning coffee, just imagine a conversation in English.
Exactly! Visualizing conversations strengthens your speaking confidence, reduces hesitation, and helps you respond naturally in real life.
So listeners, your task: pick one daily scenario and visualize the conversation in English for 3 to 5 minutes every day. You'll notice improvement in your fluency very quickly.
Great! That's step 2. Visualize conversations. Next, we'll talk about step 3. Build a mental English library, which is all about connecting words and phrases in your mind for easier speaking. All right, Julia, now let's move to step 3. Build a mental English library. This is one of my favorite steps.
Yes, Jason. Think of your brain like a library. Every word, phrase, and sentence you learn is a book. The more books you have, the easier it is to find and use them when you speak.
Exactly. But it's not just about memorizing words. You want to connect words with context, images, and feelings. That's how your mind remembers them naturally.
For example, instead of just memorizing the word happy, you could remember, I feel happy when I see my friends. Now it's a sentence connected to an emotion and a situation.
Yes. Or if you learn the phrase, I would like a coffee, imagine yourself at a cafe, holding a cup, feeling the aroma, and saying it aloud in your mind.
The key is to associate words with experiences, pictures, or emotions. Your brain remembers stories better than isolated words.
Another tip is to use mental flashcards. Imagine a word or phrase, picture it, and then use it in a mini sentence in your mind. Do this daily, and your library grows fast.
Exactly. And over time, when you want to speak, your brain can quickly pick the right book, the right word or phrase, and put it into a sentence naturally.
So, listeners, your task. Every day, pick 5 to 10 new words or phrases and connect them with images, stories, or feelings. You're not just memorizing, you're building a library in your mind.
And the best part? The more you do this, the faster your brain finds words while speaking. That's how English starts to feel natural.
Exactly. That's step 3. Build a mental English library. Up next, we'll discuss step 4. Speak without fear, which is all about gaining confidence to actually use your library in real conversations.
All right, Jason, we've built a mental library of words and phrases, but now comes the big challenge: actually speaking.
Yes, Julia. And this is where many learners struggle. They know the words, but they hesitate because they're afraid of making mistakes.
Exactly. Fear is natural, but it can stop your English from flowing. The key is to practice speaking despite the fear.
One simple tip is to start small. Speak to yourself at home. Describe what you're doing. I'm cooking dinner. I'm chopping vegetables.
Yes. Or record yourself speaking for a few minutes every day. Listen back, don't judge. Just notice how your English is improving.
Another tip is to practice with a friend or a language partner. You'll see that mistakes are normal, and most people won't even notice them.
Exactly. Mistakes are part of learning. The more you speak, the more your confidence grows, and the easier it is to form sentences naturally.
And here's a secret. The mind remembers successful speaking experiences more than mistakes. So every time you speak, even a little, you're training your mind to be confident.
Yes. Also, try speaking aloud every day, even if it's just reading a short paragraph or narrating your day. Your mouth and brain get used to forming English sentences.
And remember, listeners, speaking without fear is not about being perfect. It's about taking action and communicating, even if it's not flawless.
Exactly. Small steps every day lead to big improvements in fluency and confidence.
So, your challenge for today: speak in English for at least 5 minutes aloud, even if it's just describing your surroundings. Feel the words, not the fear.
Great advice. That's step 4. Speak without fear. Next, we'll talk about step 5. Connect words with feelings and experiences, which makes your English even more natural. All right, Jason, we've spoken without fear, but there's one more step to make your English truly natural. Connect words with feelings and experiences.
Yes, this is so powerful. When words are linked to your emotions or personal experiences, your brain remembers them better, and you can use them naturally in conversation.
For example, instead of just memorizing the word excited, you can say, I felt excited when I watched my favorite movie yesterday. Now the word is connected to a real experience.
Exactly. Or if you learn the phrase, I'm proud of myself, think of a time you accomplished something small, like finishing a book or helping a friend. That feeling makes the phrase stick.
Another tip is storytelling. Try telling a short story about your day or a memory in English. Even simple sentences like, I went to the park, I saw birds, I felt happy, help connect words with feelings.
Yes, and the more you do this, the more your English becomes expressive and natural, not just memorized sentences.
So, listeners, today's challenge: pick a word or phrase, connect it with a memory or feeling, and say it aloud. This makes speaking English easier and more fun.
Exactly. That's step 5. Connect words with feelings and experiences. All right, Julia. Before we wrap up the steps, let's talk about common mistakes learners make when training their mind to speak English.
Yes, these mistakes can slow down progress, but the good news is they're easy to avoid once you know them.
The first mistake is translating from your native language. Many learners think in their language first, then convert it to English. That slows you down and makes speaking feel unnatural.
Exactly. Instead, try to think directly in English, even simple thoughts like, I'm walking to the store, and your fluency will improve faster.
Another common mistake is focusing too much on perfection. Learners hesitate because they're afraid of making mistakes.
Yes, mistakes are part of learning. Don't let fear stop you from speaking. Speak, make mistakes, correct them, and move on. That's how you improve naturally.
A third mistake is memorizing words without context. Just learning a list of words doesn't help if you can't use them in real conversations.
Exactly. Connect words with feelings, experiences, and sentences like we discussed earlier, and your brain will remember them naturally.
So, listeners, remember these 3 mistakes. Don't translate. Don't fear mistakes. And always learn words in context. Avoid these, and your mind will speak English more naturally.
Yes. Keep these tips in mind as you practice every day, and you'll see real improvement in your confidence and fluency.
All right, Julia, before we wrap up, I want to give all our listeners a little motivation.
Yes, learning to speak English naturally takes time, but remember every small step counts. Even thinking in English for a few minutes a day makes a difference.
Exactly. Don't get discouraged if it feels hard at first. Your mind is learning and growing, just like a muscle. The more you practice, the stronger it gets.
And remember, mistakes are proof that you're trying. Each mistake brings you closer to speaking English naturally and confidently.
So keep going, stay consistent, and believe in yourself. Your mind can absolutely be trained to speak English fluently.
Yes, you've got this.
All right, Julia. Let's quickly summarize today's episode for our listeners.
Yes. Today we talked about 5 steps to train your mind to speak English naturally. Think in English, stop translating, and let your mind form English thoughts. Visualize conversations. Imagine real-life situations to prepare your mind. Build a mental English library, connect words and phrases with feelings and context. Speak without fear, practice every day, and don't worry about mistakes. Connect words with feelings and experiences. Make your English expressive and memorable.
Exactly. And remember, avoiding common mistakes like translating, fearing mistakes, or memorizing words without context will help you progress faster.
So, listeners, practice daily, stay patient, and trust the process. Your mind can be trained to speak English naturally, and every effort you make brings you closer to fluency.
That's right. Keep these steps in mind, and soon speaking English will feel easy, confident, and natural. All right, Julia. Before we say goodbye, let's remind our listeners to take action.
Yes! If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and share it with your friends who are learning English.
Also, check out our previous episodes for more tips on improving your English and join our community of learners.
Absolutely! And remember, practice every day, stay consistent, and your mind will speak English naturally in no time.
Thanks for listening. and we'll see you in the next episode.